What's going on, y'all? It's your boy DameSmiff, and we out here with another episode of Musician Talks with DameSmiff. And so today's topic is about helping young artists navigate decision making and, of course, the law and things like that, and basically setting your career up for benefits and perks through setting a very good foundation in the early, I guess you can say, stages of your career, no pun intended. So if you guys would like more conversations like this, make sure you hit the like button. That way I know, and then also other people know that we're having cool conversations like this. But also make sure you hit the subscribe button. That way you can catch my latest live streams and content and such and things like that. So let me know, chat, how you guys feeling, how you guys enjoying the new setup, the new content. We've been taking new pictures. We got new things coming, new things happening. You know what I'm saying? We got a lot of new products and things that we're introducing over here. But the more important thing that we're going to be talking about today is how do you go from point A to point B in terms of getting started as a musician, right? So when we think about, the typical, I guess you can say stereotypical idea of what an artist's career is, it's usually like some kid in their room or their garage writing some music. Maybe they're playing with a band or something like that. And then some really smart executive that comes through and they really love the music or whatever is going on, right? And they really appreciate the artistry and the consistency and the work ethic. And then they kind of get some partnership and then they take over the world together, right? Well, nowadays, that stereotype has now shifted from the kid in the garage or the band at the dive bar to the fully functional independent record label now being partnered with the major record label, right? That's the normal stereotypical partnerships that you're seeing today. And what I mean by that is, like, you won't necessarily be like Blue Note Records, but you damn sure could be Dreamville, right? You definitely could be Wolfgang with Tyler, the Creator, like Odd Future and things like that. Like, there's ways for you to be recognized within the industry that will have you competing with some of the major record labels, right? But a big part of how you get to that point is the foundation you set up, right? And I mean that more so in the sense of, what do you want to, I guess you can say, take a hold of in terms of the market share, right? So some people, they'll be like, man, I want to be the world's best rapper. And at one hand, you can say, yeah, that can be a thing. But on the other hand, it's like, well, how do you measure that in terms of being an asset to what we call your brand, right? So being the greatest rapper is really cool, but what does that mean in terms of sync licensing and stuff like that? What does that mean in terms of booking a tour or actually like having a tour available, right? Are people going to see the best rappers right now? Is that what we're paying tickets for? So when you think about it in that sense, right, you can kind of see already how your mind is starting to shift away from musical skill set to now business acumen and maybe even networking or just, investing in general, right? And so now what we're starting to see in the current ages is that, like I said, the stereotypical artist is pretty much just a entrepreneur now. You're just going to see people that have businesses and different names and different industries and things like that, all functioning under an umbrella business or maybe in partnership with other people. But in order for that to also be successful, just like music, you would have to understand that of which you're working with, right? So if you want to be a musician, but you want to team up with, let's say, a fitness brand for either their clothing, or you want to sell water bottles, or you want to do box water like Jaden Smith or something, right? You have to understand that industry if you want to get success out of it. You can just jump into anything, but if you want to garner some kind of success, you got to know how the market works, how the audience works, what is the typical, I guess you can say, things to look out for and be worried about within the industry, right? So for getting into the music industry, it's the same thing, right? So if you want to be a very skillful musician, what comes with that? What are you sacrificing? What are you giving up? What is the things that you plan on giving up? And what are the things you plan on keeping as far as assets? So we're going to take a look today at a few different episodes, or not episodes, but clips of circumstances, and I guess you can say situations where artists need to kind of navigate these kinds of decisions. And a lot of it is going to be really determined through wisdom, I guess you can say, like being able to see some things that are coming down the pipeline or having the ability to learn and adapt in real time, right? And so one of the ways we're going to do this is we're going to work our way backwards. We're going to start with the current times of how artists have to navigate this, and then we're going to go back and see how we can, I guess you can say, compare or contrast to how artists have done it in previous decades, like the 80s and 90s, right? So let's get into our first clip where we're going to really break down how people are monetizing their content today on a platform like YouTube.
A lot of people think that getting monetized on YouTube takes years, but we've actually seen channels do it in as little as 30 days. And the difference is not luck, it's actually strategy. So in this video, I'm breaking down exactly how to get monetized step by step in 2026. So let's start with the basic requirements for enrolling in the YouTube Partner Program. Well, there's really two routes you can go with this. Route one is getting 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 public watch hours on your content in the last 12 months. And typically this is the route that we recommend beginners strive for achieving because it's a lot more attainable than route two, which is getting 10 million shorts views in the last 90 days. That's usually a little bit too high of a barrier for most channels. So we recommend focusing on getting your first 1,000 subs and 4,000 public watch hours. Now, right away, a lot of mistakes we see beginners making at the beginning is they start posting random content and their content doesn't feel cohesive and they have no real strategy or direction for their channel. Also, we see creators try to chase a bunch of trends and try viral reaction formats that don't actually end up landing with anybody because competition is so high for those kinds of viral videos. Or creators go all in on short strategy and have a hard time breaking through the algorithm, and their shorts will just kind of peter off after 24 hours and only do a couple hundred views. Now, if you want a super difficult path for getting monetized years down the road, then you could try that strategy out and see how it works. Instead, I actually recommend following these 4 simple steps that I'll outline in this video to set you up for success in getting monetized as quickly as possible.
So how many of you have actually tried a lot of the things that he's shown? And you usually see this with more of the, I guess you can say, smaller channels, right? Bigger channels, they have the ability to, lean on an audience. So if they want to try something, or if they want to, step out of the box a little bit, they have the grace where they know an audience is going to give them feedback. So being able to do that is a little bit more beneficial than like a smaller channel, right? So how many of you have actually tried to actually do one of those 3 things? Just dig into shorts, or maybe you tried to do regular, I guess you can call it long form content, but like 10-minute videos, 20-minute, 30-minute videos, but the consistent topic was the problem that you had. Like, how many of you had to deal with that? And so considering that, would you say getting into the music industry has like a similar thing, right? You kind of have to pick a, I guess you can say, occupation within the industry and then get really good at that in order for you to garner the grace to step into other things. Would you say the music industry is pretty similar in that way?
So step one to getting monetized quicker is to start producing intent-based videos. And sometimes we call these high intent videos or search-based content. And really, these are just producing pieces of content that people are already searching for and have verifiable demand for. So for us at Think Media, it could be a video like best cameras for YouTube, or if you're in a real estate niche, it could be how to buy your first home as a first-time home buyer. Or if you like give tours of Las Vegas, it could be best restaurants in the Las Vegas area. All of these kinds of videos have what we call high search intent, where a viewer is coming to the platform to solve a specific question in their life, and you can meet them with a specific answer to their specific question. One of the tactics we teach inside of our online course called Video Ranking Academy is the tactic called ASQ, or answering specific questions. And that's exactly what the strategy is that we're talking about. And a similar strategy to the ASQ method is what we call RSP, which is reviewing specific products. So no matter what kind of niche your channel is in, you probably have specific products that you use on a daily basis, or even software that you might use that you'd be able to do reviews on to meet buyers or viewers who have a high intent to learn more about that product. You can meet them with specific answers to the questions they might have. And really, this kind of strategy, trying to reach people who are searching for content, is the best way to start getting your first views, first subscribers, and building real momentum. And
so when I think about this also makes me think about this other, I guess you can say, tip that mentor had given, was that you want to be able to connect people, right? So that's where a lot of the real salesmen really thrive, is the ability to take two people who can solve each other's problem and connect them and bridge that gap, right? And, you know, you can take a cut of their success, or you can just make that your service in general. But when you think about for a musician, like a lot of it is just doing that, right? Being able to take fans to a venue to buy food and drink, to take fans to a venue in order to bring, I don't know, a city money, or to help celebrate an event or celebrate a wedding and things like that, right? So if you can break your content down in that way, you can almost look at it in the same vein of music, where you have a certain intent that you have for your product or your song, and then you package it in a way to where specifically people that are looking for this are placed in front of it. So that's why when I explain that it's really difficult to find a Drake fan that knows why they're a Drake fan, because usually what people are finding whenever they go to search for music is exactly what they're looking for based on a mood or a vibe. There's no like first name, last name to the product you're looking for. It's usually a mood or a vibe. That's why you'll see in grocery stores a lot of brands that sell the same product, but in terms of you being connected to the brand has more so to do with how you feel about the brand and not so much the product, because you could easily just replace it if there's a better one.
we actually literally believe in this method so much that we have an online course called Video Ranking Academy, where we teach you how to rank videos in search results on YouTube. And we have thousands of students who are adopting these same principles every single week. So if you want to get monetized quicker, start producing content that has really high search traffic with high viewer intent. Now, the second thing I would do is add a layer of broad appeal videos into my content strategy. So after I already have ranked some videos and are ranking in search results, I do want to add some content that can reach a wider audience. So an example for us would be how to start a YouTube channel in 2026, because this literally applies to any single person on the YouTube platform who is wanting to create a channel, not just people interested in YouTube strategy or growth, but literally anyone at all. If you want a YouTube channel, you could watch this video. Another great example is from Dr. Mike. He makes a ton of great videos, but this one right here is specifically targeting broad appeal. This is Doctor Reacts to Family Guy medical scenes. So you don't even know who this doctor is or what he's doing, but if you have any interest in Family Guy or just comedy television shows, then you would have a wide interest for this kind of content. And you're kind of curious, like, what is actually the medical advice that Family Guy is giving? And you could watch Dr. Mike Mike's video to get that kind of reaction style format. So when you make these sorts of broad appeal videos, you're really trying to increase your impressions by reaching more and more people. So when you increase your impressions, you'll end up getting more clicks on your video, and more clicks equal more views. And we really need to increase our views and our watch time if we want to hit that 1,000 subscriber mark and 4,000 watch hours.
So how many of you, when you hear what he's saying, believe what he's saying, but find it hard to commit to what he's asking you to do? And what I mean by that is, like, sometimes you can hear in the studios, or sometimes in, I guess you can say, conversations with musicians in terms of writing a song, you'll say, well, there's a broader appeal, or there's a way to appeal to more people at once if you make certain adjustments or certain changes. And sometimes you'll meet resistance with that. Sometimes the artist will feel like they're losing some kind of flavor or vibe with the song that they're creating in order to appeal to more people. But then at the same time, are the people that they're targeting the people that will truly support them in terms of what you would call a musical career, right? And this is something that I'm trying to bridge the gap between for younger artists, because a lot of times we'll be finding ourselves making music that we really, really like and really works with, let's say, the stage in our life at the time. But then as you grow and evolve or learn more things and want to do more things, you can't really take that piece with you or make it make sense with the new, I guess you can say, stage that you've moved into, right? So the ability to appeal to a broad audience is where, in my opinion, where most larger audiences will give grace to an artist, because they're attached to, I guess you can say, more than one thing about an artist or a brand, right? And what that could look like is Snoop Dogg, for example, has all kinds of appeal when it comes to his brand, right? It can be music, it can be television, it can be maybe the products he's worked with and partnered with and created. A lot of it can be connected to Snoop and why you appreciate Snoop Dogg. So if Snoop Dogg wants to try something different in music, you may not like his music as much, but you're still going to support him because of something else that he has put his hand or name upon, right? And so that's the ability for people to be able to give grace, I guess you can say, to an artist, right? But I'm pointing this out, though, is because younger artists don't necessarily practice that, because what we tell them is to figure out quickly what you're good at and then hone in on it, right? That's actually one of the things I mentioned earlier in the video. But the skill to take that thing that you're really good at and then apply other skills to that skill set is really what's going to make you higher or more valuable than other artists in terms of booking for shows, booking for writing and collaboration and things like that. So once you get past that skill set threshold or issue in terms of having multiple skills or multiple valuable skills that are in demand for the industry, then you can start working on like networking skills and then developing and trimming the fat on who is or is not going to be within your network.
And if you're not sure how to come up with these viral video ideas, a tool that I use all of the time and really wish I started using a lot sooner in my YouTube career is vidIQ. vidIQ is a software that you can actually add to your YouTube studio if you want to manage your channel a little bit better and have better analytics and insights, but it's also a great research tool for finding great video ideas. My favorite tool from vidIQ is their outlier tool, and an outlier is essentially a video that performs significantly better than a channel's average performance. And by studying those patterns, you can actually completely revolutionize the kinds of videos that you're targeting and creating by studying what is actually working on the platform.
I wonder if this would be possible with just something like Gemini, just to easily take something that's already integrated within the YouTube system and just use it. But all in all, I think for most people, when you want to try to really set a foundation for yourself, just like building a YouTube channel, you want to be able to find very specific things that you're good at, build a skill set on how you can actually solve a problem for people, and then be able to multiply those skills, or at least, enhance those skills. So let's now move into the next clip, where we're going to actually dive into a bit more of how the law is going to be something younger musicians need to pay attention to. But the key thing that they need to pay attention to is that you need to understand the law before the law becomes a problem for you. So that's the key thing. So let's get into it.
Apparently, we need warning labels for everything. Now, as a lawyer, I can tell you that warning labels only really happen after someone actually did the thing being warned about. If it's a grocery satchel, putting it on your head, not a good idea. Chugging burning hot coffee, discouraged. Hair dryers, do not use while sleeping.
How many of you knew that warning labels usually come after the thing they're being warned about occurred? And the point I'm going to be driving home here is also along with what she's going to be showing us in real time, but it's going to be that there are things that you may not be warned about going into the music industry that you kind of have to pay attention to. Like, if you don't pay attention to these things, you're going to miss out on either a huge benefit or some kind of actual terrible situation, like a bad contract, or maybe, you won't see some kind of technology coming, right? But the point here is that sometimes the warning, though, isn't written on a label, or maybe it's not just said to you in a clear sentence. Sometimes the warning is like looking at the failures of another artist, or even the stagnation of another artist and things like that. But just keep that in mind as we watch this. She's saying that, pretty much everything needs a warning label, but we got to pay attention to why.
I have questions about that one. And now, after watching artificial intelligence flood streaming platforms with hundreds of thousands of songs every day, the music industry has decided that AI music also needs a warning label. Now, nearly half of the new music arriving on streaming platforms is entirely AI generated. But
okay, and that's also something I mentioned should happen too. I think if you're going to create a song completely out of AI, just say it is so.
What I think is the interesting part is how hard some of these streaming platforms are fighting to not let people know what they're listening to. But apparently, once a problem becomes big enough, the solution isn't to try to fix it. The solution is to just put a label on it. Back in the 80s, the Parents Music Resource Center, famously led by Tipper Gore, pushed the music industry to warn parents about explicit content. The controversy eventually led to musicians like Dee Snider testifying before Congress. Weeks of congressional hearings about the dangers of listening to rock lyrics. And what about the solution? Label it. Put a big E on the songs that really brought the devil out in the kids. The E was supposed to signal explicit, but for the recording industry, it stood for earnings. Lots of them. Now, kids knew exactly where to look for the songs that their parents didn't want them to listen to. Now, as the saying goes, it's deja vu all over again. Except this time, the devil isn't in the lyrics, it's in the way the music is made. And in case you haven't figured it out already, the problem that needs to be fixed is AI. AI.
So, how many of you were there for when the explicit advisory ticket was added? I was born after that. So for me, a lot of the music that I seen that was explicit was kind of like, normal business, right? And so it's really a thing that people are polarized about, because on one hand, you want parents to completely supervise children's media and content, right? But then on the other hand, there's also, I guess you can say, a bit of shrouding of what kind of music you plan on creating, right? So what I'm suggesting here is that there is actually a culture war that's going on between these two things. You're seeing a culture that prefers modesty against a culture that denies modesty. Like, they just prefer not to have it. Like, it's literally right there saying this is not a modest piece of music or product. And so why would you not want to label it explicit if it is explicit and there's people trying to avoid it, right? Now, like she said, the labels looked at it as, now you can tell children what to look for if you want to listen to the music that your parents do not want you to listen to, right? So that's a culture war. So now you're seeing a difference between how parents are viewing what the corporations are doing and the freedoms you have as a listener, right? All over the head of the artist being able to create whatever it is they want to be able to create, right? So responsibility here is all over the place. But here's the thing that we're going to focus on. If you're an artist and you want to create explicit music, who do you want listening to it? Because you remember what the YouTube guy said, right? You want to create content, and just that was in the context of YouTube, but we're going to bring it to music. You want to make content that has intent. So if you were to just make a YouTube video and parallel it to a music video, who do you want watching it? And why do you want them watching it, right? And so when we say explicit music, what would that really mean, right? Curse words, violence, the typical tropes, sexual things and things like that, degeneracy and things that may or may not be counterculture or whatever, right? So if we know that and we want to make that kind of content, then who do we intend to be watching it, right? And this is a thing that parents were having an issue with, because artists don't necessarily need to be responsible for who they want to blast explicit content out to in the public. But you also have to think about, again, culturally, who it is that you want to experience this explicit media. Now, if you don't care about that kind of thing, then you have to really take responsibility for the fact that you don't care that it is possibility that children may get a hand on your explicit content, right? But if you do care and you're going to say, hey, I do care about what children pay attention to in my culture, then you have to ask yourself and possibly answer, more than likely need to answer, when you create your art, who do you intend to be watching and listening to the thing you've created, right? And so answering it for parents is one thing, because the record labels, they're just exploiting what you make as an artist, right? Again, I'm talking to musicians. So if you're a record label, you're just doing your job. You're just exploiting this explicit music into a distribution funnel to make money, right? Parents are looking at it as, well, when I go out to the store, there's explicit music and I can't tell what to avoid in order to protect my child because of the culture we believe in, right? So that's explicit music. So now we know what music is explicit. So if your child gets hands on it, it's now more so a conversation on how they got their hands on the music, right? So we go on ahead and put the sticker on the music. The next thing is, now, if I want to hear music that is real and authentic, what does the culture say about this now? So for about 2, maybe 3 months, I've been showing you guys that there's a growing sentiment that we love and enjoy and appreciate making and listening to AI music. So now we're having the same issue with a completely reversed sentiment. This would be the equivalent of everybody going to court asking to make more money with explicit music and asking to either remove or avoid placing explicit labels on the music because we can then make more money, right? So it's the opposite now. But the culture may not be the thing that dictates this. It actually may be the law, unlike the explicit music conversation.
AI is working its way into the creation of music, from brainstorming the song, getting the ideas all the way through to the mastering process. And the music industry is finally ready to take action. Last week, The Hollywood Reporter, among other news outlets, reported, quote, a coalition of music industry trade groups led by the RIAA and IFPI, a global industry association, has announced a new program for labeling AI music, seeking widespread industry adoption of the likes of streaming services and other stakeholders as AI-generated songs continue to flood the market. So a bunch of groups came on board. The Recording Academy, SAG-AFTRA, A2IM, everyone is backing this thing. So there it is. Another problem solved. Billions of AI-generated songs flooding the market, diluting the revenues of human artists and putting many out of work, no problem. Just put a label on it. I actually think this all makes sense, because now AI can just make music. Fraudsters can release that music pretending to be real artists, and they can even pay for fake streams. And the streaming platforms like Spotify can collect all the money from all of them. It's frankly the perfect business model. The only remaining inefficiency are the musicians themselves. In all seriousness, I actually think AI labeling is a good thing. And I have been very skeptical about Spotify's extreme resistance to just add an AI label to AI songs to ensure transparency and to reduce fraud for the last 2 years. For example, Spotify reported that it removed 75 million spammy tracks in an effort to combat AI fraud. But Spotify never actually said these were AI tracks. I mean, given the actual volume of music on Spotify's platform, how much is 75 million anyway? Did Spotify just hit delete on its recycle bin? Deezer, another streaming platform, recently reported that it's receiving nearly 75,000 fully AI-generated songs every single day, which is
We reported on that here as well. And I think the issue we're going to have as artists is that fans do not care about this problem. That's why I said culturally, the reason you've seen these numbers so high is because there is an actual demand for this, right? So I don't know, maybe you guys really, really, really want to hear 50 Cent rap in Spanish, but I think the issue that keeps coming up every time I hear about this AI stuff is that how do you tell a bunch of addicts no? If I don't sell the drugs, someone's gonna sell the drugs. That's kind of what it feels like now.
44% of all the new music being delivered to the platform. And so by comparison, reports are estimating that for Spotify, right, the bigger platform, it's likely over 100,000 AI songs per day. Even Apple Music has reported that more than 1/3 of the music uploaded to its platform is now 100% AI generated. So something has to be done. And because no industry initiative is complete until there's a logo, we now have two. The black AI label is for fully or almost fully AI-generated music. The white lowercase AI label is for AI-assisted music, meaning the song was human-created but uses AI in some of the expressive elements. Now, by the way, there's no fine print on these proposed labels, but if there was, and this is true, mostly, it would say, quote, AI designation applies only to sound recordings and does not necessarily indicate the use of artificial intelligence in the composition, lyrics, cover art, music video, artist biography, social media presence, hopes, dreams, personality, or actual existence of the artist. But what will these new AI labels actually tell consumers? AI generated seems relatively straightforward. It means AI created all or almost all of the song. But AI assisted, what does that mean? Is this like milk now? There's 2% human created, there's skim human created, there's lactose free human created. And I mean, did the AI write the entire song? Or did it create just the horn section?
So this is actually an interesting topic. And I think, like I said, for every artist that's looking at this, when we're considering starting our careers and stuff like that, we've seen it before, people building their own record labels and things like that with AI. If we have to start labeling the shit as AI, if this is the reverse sentiment of the explicit music problem, I can see this going the opposite direction, where an artist can come out with a brand new album and we all love them and things like that, and they're super cool, super awesome, and that little AI little sticker pops out right there on the label, and we're gonna go, I don't trust it. Nope, lost all credibility. Nope, you're part of XYZ things now, right? Or you'll see a situation where almost all of the music has the AI sticker there, and we don't really know what to think as far as what we're looking at. Are we looking at a musician, or are we looking at an AI engineer, or a combination of the two? And what is the metric we use to value this person compared to a musician that uses zero AI compared to an assisted AI created song? And this is things you have to answer, because if you don't know this, you may be stuck in a situation where your entire catalog could be AI and it gets no money because they're moving away from this stuff, or it gets a little bit of the same money, if not more, because we're moving towards it. So we don't really know yet. But this is what I mean by some warning labels aren't just outright told to you. This is the same warning that we got when MP3 started to pop up. Everybody was like, man, I don't know about making all my music MP3s and CDs. I need the records, right? And then suddenly nobody was buying records. Now people are starting to buy records, but just think there was the time where it was called the record industry. You know what I'm saying? So it's not called the MP3 download industry. So that's the thing. So let's get into our last topic of the day. And this is actually going to be a blast from the past here. And we're going to be able to see how artists back in the day used to actually use a lot of the same consistent business acumen and skills needed today way back in the past, right? And the reason this is going to be important for young artists to look at is because you're going to hear this same information, but many of you won't apply it. And that's why this is going to be very important to know now, early on, instead of realizing you should have applied it.
What's up, Joey?
Welcome to halftime, baby.
Store is the bomb, okay? Why is the line like out the door, down the block, around the corner, over the
We
bus
got the
stop?
butter gear. We got the butter gear.
I'm
You know what I
saying,
mean?
how long has the store been up here?
Like a year and a half. Yo, Prim, where you at?
Oh, yeah, y'all
Stay
remember
working,
Brim?
TAT.
Okay.
Brim,
On the
Brim,
phone.
he front,
I hope that ain't a booty call, Brim.
This is the man right here. What's up? Funny things over here.
You gotta disconnect them. You on Big Les time.
You on Big Les
You know what
time.
I'm saying? This is how business
All right.
used to be run. Don't let me come up here and shop.
Yo,
I'm right on it.
all right, anyway,
How did this
Big
get
Grim
down?
is the man who runs the whole store. Him with Biz Markie. Biz.
Of course, I am.
The diamond.
So for those of you who don't know, this is actually Fat Joe in 1995. I was 3 years old by the time this was filmed, right? And so what you're seeing is Fat Joe sitting in a store that he's running with other artists, and another artist back there, rest in peace, is Biz Markie, right? Now, Biz Markie himself is a rap legend because he used to perform a whole bunch. He used to be able to make music on the spot, very creative, very talented. But then Fat Joe himself is also a rap legend because he can make a lot of really good music and can rap really well and collaborate with a lot of people. But do you see the consistency in what I'm talking about in terms of being able to network and all that and things like that, right? But if you were to take the networking aside and then remove the music, you still see two gentlemen that have chose to partner up in order to start a business, right? Now, why they started this business, hopefully they explain in the interview, but just pay attention that this is group economics for artists and musicians in the sense that they're partnering together. I don't know, maybe they split the retail prices and whatever, the sales and profits together, who knows? But the idea here is that they needed a strong foundation early in order to build upon it. They both technically are very popular by the time this interview is happening, but they still have that mindset of being able to invest in yourself and build upon it today. So if you see Fat Joe today in 2026, you can see how this is manifested for him in a positive way.
Yo,
I'm right on it.
all right, anyway,
How did this
Big
get
Grim
down?
is the man who runs the whole store. Him with Biz Markie. Biz.
Of course, I am.
The diabolical one. You know what I mean?
Stores everywhere. You know.
We got stores everywhere, you know what
You
I mean?
vision it? Biz Markie doing paperwork. I can't see it. I can't
The
see it.
man, well, you know Biz Markie, he's intelligent.
Without a
He
doubt.
front.
Without
He
a
front
doubt.
like he crazy, but he real intelligent, you know what I mean?
He front like he crazy, but he real intelligent. That was a thing for some reason in the Northeast. Like you would see Old Dirty Bastard, Flava Flav from Public Enemy and things like that, including Biz Markie. And people had like these really eccentric lifestyles and personalities. But then when you actually had conversations with them or seen what they were doing, like why they are actually so popular, there's a lot of very, very, very smart, very strategic thinking going on behind the scenes. Now, I don't know why that is. I don't know why New Yorkers have that thing. Maybe it was a defense mechanism for living in the hood or the concrete jungle, as it's called. But for a lot of times when you see a big crew like this and there's just a weird guy in there, there's a reason they like the weird guy.
Yo, Prim, tell us how we got the store started and all that.
I don't know, I used to hustle in the street and selling t-shirts, and wherever Joe used to do a show, I used to go behind him and sell t-shirts in the club. So, I made a couple of proposals to him, and he got some records, and he said, come on, let's do it. And we did it, and we here, and, we got other ventures going. We got a clothing line, we got a 900 number, you know what I'm saying? So we got a lot of other things going on, and the response from all over the world is we getting letters from all over the world, you know what I'm saying? Wanting to get down with Joe and where to give.
Now, how easy was it for y'all to just come up on the spot? Did you have to get your stuff on wax before anybody took you seriously about opening up the shop?
Well, you know, the shop came after the music, you know what I mean?
Right.
We felt like I had made some royalty money off the music. I had made some money, and we was like, we had to set a foundation in case if the music is gone tomorrow and Fat Joe ain't hot tomorrow, you know what I mean? We got somewhere to fall back on. Too many rappers before me, you know what I'm saying, made millions and lost it all, and they like, you know, yo, Joe, let me five. When I grew up idolizing them, you know what I mean?
Right.
This is in 1995. And how many of you have heard that before? I need to get my businesses in order because in the past people have spent their money and blew their money and I don't want to be like them. How many of you have heard that before within the past 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 18 years? This is in 1995 and he's saying this about opening his own store as a rapper. So, young musicians, how many of you have plans on having assets like this, whether it's, you know, real estate, it'd be in a brick and mortar business, maybe it's a service, or maybe you have some kind of like consultation firm. Man, even if you just get a job, get a corporate job, like how many of you think about this in terms of what he just explained as far as avoiding basically consuming all of the money you make, even if it is millions?
So that ain't gonna be the case. Everybody gotta get
on
there.
to a different level. We're trying to take it on to a level that we're making jeans and making them overseas. You know what I'm saying? Big time. We're not trying to do the little bit printing T-shirts and stuff like that. We're trying to really, you know, build something.
So that was your purpose when you opened up shop, though, is that you wanted to make sure that everybody who had skills in the hood, whether it was from graffiti, designing, coming here doing the music on the DJ tip, whatever.
It was like the whole sense of. See, I grew up in this area. I have like a deeper concept of it. I grew up in this area all my life, and for years I go to all the stores and all the businesses, and I see, you know, Hispanics and blacks working in the store, but to no offense, when you look at the cash register, is either a Korean or a Jew behind the cash register getting the dough. So we giving them mad money, because even, I could break it down even more. We don't want to get too deep into it.
So to give a little insight and context of what he's saying, a lot of times people who start businesses don't choose, I guess you can say, lower income areas to start businesses, right? Like, why would you want to, right? Lower income is what it's called, right? So what people have started to realize is that lower income places may not have people that start businesses come in there, but they do have, let's say, franchises or even some family owned businesses that are from people that don't necessarily live within the low income area because they themselves aren't low income families, right? So the opportunities that these businessmen and women provide to these low income areas are usually to people that don't look like them. Like if you're a Korean family and you make good income, but you see an opportunity in starting a business in a low income area for whatever reason, whether it's you like the hood, you feel for the hood, or you want to take advantage of the capitalistic opportunity there of starting a business there, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be employing and serving the people of that area, right? And so if it's not your demographic, if you're not a low income Korean or a low income Jewish person, you're usually working with low income, whatever is nearby in proximity, right? So there is that, right? Now, the other thing that he's pointing out that I think is the more important point here is that that doesn't necessarily have to be the case, right? If you want to take your low income area, that of which he lived in, right, and then see some kind of benefit of that business that you're buying stuff from, whether it's a grocery store, a car wash, or a salon or something like that, it makes more sense to own that business instead of waiting for the business to get there, it providing services you need, and that's the end of the transaction, right? So what he realized probably at real time, he was like, man, why don't I see somebody of our demographic in this low income area owning the businesses here? And so for him, it probably hit him a little bit harder because he saw how many businesses his demographic didn't own and how long it's been that case, right? So instead of saying, man, I'm just going to make more rap songs about this, he decided to get up and go own a business, right? So now you see Markie back there doing the paperwork, as they said, doing the business and things like that. That is clearly the demographic he wanted to see owning a business. So he fairly and rightfully so stood up in a capitalistic way and competed with the thing he didn't like in his community, right? And so now he's making a tangible difference. So the reason this is important to highlight for young artists is because many young artists may not mentally feel like they know how to do this, to start a business. Some people don't know how to start a business, and then at the same time aren't built to start a business. Like, I'm sure this store probably got to deal with thieves because they know Biz Markie and Fat Joe work here. You got to deal with people trying to discount you because they know Fat Joe and Biz Markie work here. You know, it's a lot of different nuanced cultural things you have to deal with. And I'm sure by now, if you ask Fat Joe, how would you open a store today? There are some things he would do differently. But he's highlighting something here that I think most artists need to understand, is that ownership of the things you're trying to build a foundation upon is going to be key, because then you'll have sweat equity into it. You actually feel like you like and own this business, so you'll put your all into it, hopefully, right? But then at the same time, you can control the things that you can control in terms of legally running a business here.
So I was like, yo, boom, I got, you know what I'm saying? I was like, yo, man, I'm tired of this, man. We got to self-economic ourselves, you know what I mean? And we got to build more businesses. And by us opening up the store, because I think we are the first Latino or black corporation who has ever opened up a store over here. Because if you look now, you know, there's some Africans in the corner, you know, vending, but, you know, not to open their own establishment. From here, now all the little kids is like, yo, ma, look, Fat Joe got a store. They mother can hit him like, yo, you know, he was on welfare. He was on the cheese line like you. He grew up in the projects down the block. If he did it, you could do it. You know what I'm saying? It's just a sense of hope. That's what we bring forth. We also employ a couple of heads. We trying to get our thing, you know, going. You know what I mean? We're trying to with what we got.
By bringing everybody in the spot.
You know me, it's like no big deal. When I go to the projects where I grew up at, it's no big deal. All the little kids, instead of looking at me like, wow, Fat Joe, it's like, oh, that's Joey.
Exactly.
He ain't nobody.
And the cool thing about this is that, and when you're in this position that Joe is in, you have to really lean into integrity and doing good, clean business, because you actually do thrive in that instance. Some people will get into this position and they'll start making, like, you know, backdoor deals, or they'll try to incorporate, you know, some kind of criminal element to their business and stuff like that. And in the long run, it doesn't benefit them. But if you were to stick to good, clean business, you can pretty much feed your community for a very long time, especially if people trust you and things like that. I think I fast forward too much, but you can feed your community for a long time, and they can, you know, build trust and rapport. And then, like he said, it builds kind of like a cultural shift where now the kids don't just want to be a rapper like you. Now they want to be a rapper that can now open businesses and then provide more. You know, it's cool to be a rapper at that point instead of just a thing to do.
Well, you know we got the fat album called Tell Us One's Envy and the dope single, so we're going to get all into that flavor. Rap City, Fat Joe, Big Les, Brim, Half Time.
Armageddon, Terror Squad.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, Joe's the bomb because he had heart. He had determination. He didn't stop when people told him that he couldn't do it, just like me. We both had the same fire in our blood.
Now,
fire, water.
That's like the atmosphere though up here in the Bronx though.
Yeah, I'm from Jersey, but you know, Bronx, Jersey, we all one clique.
Bismarck from everywhere, man.
Oh yeah.
He's from Long Island, from Queens, from Brooklyn.
Definitely.
Now why?
He's from everywhere.
Why the name of the single? Why the name of the album, Tell Us One's Envy? What happened that somebody was like trying to get your stuff, get on?
Nah, it was like, first of all, like, let me just say, Biz Markie has my most all-time favorite single was The Vapors. That's my favorite record ever. But like my two favorite rappers ever was like KRS-One and LL Cool J. So LL Cool J stands for Ladies Love Cool James, and KRS-One is Knowledge Reigns Supreme over nearly everybody. So I always wanted to just abbreviate my name. So it was like Joe, Jealous One's Envy. And that was the best way to describe it, because, you know, at the time, you know, you could show us so much love, you know what I mean? And everybody still criticizes, oh, you know, I be in the projects every day, oh, he think he better than us now, he think he, you know what I mean? When in reality, you just trying to show him love and trying to show him it ain't no difference. Somebody always got to complain. So when I was jumping into my album, heads was like, ah, Joe can't do it again, Flo Joe was just that, whatever, you know what I mean? So I had to hit him on the head again with Jealous One's Envy, you know?
Now, has Big Joe changed about himself since the first album? You came out with Represent. Have you changed since that one to this one?
Word, crazy. You know what I mean? It's like the lyrics is iller, the beats is tighter, the whole Fat Joe, Joey Crack, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? We sliding through with a click now. It's called a Terror Squad. I got Terror Squad Records featuring Big Punisher, Armageddon, Keith Nutt. That's on the All Out label. It's gonna be hot, man. We blowing it up, you know what I mean?
So you got to have this kind of like enterprise type of attitude as an artist today. And you can see that because Fat Joe's thriving today even, right? So when you see Fat Joe and you think about all the cool stuff he's doing, at least like if you listen to the music, he's still highly skilled in the music part. Like can very much rap, can pick beats, knows how to produce, knows how to collaborate with other artists and things like that. But the business acumen was there. Fat Joe was killing it with the ringtone game, with All the Way Up and stuff like that. Like everything goes up in terms of how to build a foundation as an artist. Okay, so if you enjoyed this conversation, let me know in the comments because I'm gonna get you guys off to lunch, right? So this was Musician Talks with DameSmiff. We figured out how we can make better decisions as young artists. We navigated a little bit of what to expect when it comes to AI and also the warning labels there. And then we got a little bit of insight on the wisdom that younger Fat Joe could give us today in 2026, all the way from 1990.